Hi, everyone that's watching the world events, what is going on here in Israel. They're absolutely stunned, and it is a miracle. It's a military victory. It is a fulfillment of history. And I'd like to share a little bit of what the Talmud says on this period of time that we're in. So it actually says in the Talmud Avodah Zarah, which we're learning now in the daily Daf Hayomi, that it says that the kingdom of Persia will last up until the end of days, and at the end of days they will be conquered by Rome. And then in the eighth page, so it gives kind of a lot of history of Rome because Avodah Zarah has to do with idolatry and Roman. There's a lot of pagan holidays. So it talks about what Rome is, but then it goes into the history of Rome. And it says that for 26 years, there was peace between Israel and Rome. And what the reason for that is, it says that the Romans were unable to capture the Greeks until they made peace with Israel. And it was the kingdom of Shimon the Hashmonai that was from the descendant of Matisyahu the Kohen Gadol and the Maccabees, and so they defeated the Greeks, and then the Romans couldn't defeat the Greeks, so they got together with Israel. So for 26 years they were together, and then it says that afterwards they subjugated Israel. So that happened during Herod. That when at first Pompey didn't want to come in, but then he did come in and he gave the rights to Herod. And then it was basically for hundreds of years, essentially, we were subjugated to Rome. But the Talmud says that there's a tremendous amount of history on this, and not just history, but the Torah says. It says about Esau, that when Esau meets Yaakov by the road with his 400 men, and he says, let me accompany you. And Yaakov says, no, I don't want you to accompany me. I have my children, and you just go on your way. So it says, let my master go before his servant. And Yaakov is calling himself the servant. And so the Talmud says, Nisa v'nelcha, let us travel together. And that is those 26 years that there was peace between Israel and Rome, that there's a time for peace. But then, ve'elcha lenegdecha, then yavor na adonin lifnei avdo, then my master will go before his servant, where Rome then rises before Israel, and Israel is the servant of Rome. And the commentaries explain that it says ve'rav yavot tza'ir, that the older one will be subjugated to the younger one. So there's two ways of learning this. Rav Ya'avod, say that the older one will subjugate it, or Rav Ya'avod will be subjugated by the younger one. Is it the older one subjugating the younger one, Esau subjugating Yaakov, or is it Yaakov subjugating Esau? And these are these two back and forths that we've been going through throughout history, essentially. And now at the end of time, now at the end that we are in current events, we're seeing these strikes, and we're seeing that Israel is leading the strikes, and the U.S. is coming in, and Trump is coming in, who of course is from Rome, and he's from Esau. He looks like he's red, and there's this little bit of a struggle that Trump is basically saying, we did this, or we could call the games, we'll call the shots, we'll say, you stop firing, you stop here. Meanwhile, everything that has been happening now militarily is just an unbelievable feat, as Netanyahu says, that everything that has happened over here is siyata dishmaya, is the divine intervention over here. When we realize that that we are divinely protected, we are divinely a nation on its own, and we are reassuming this leadership that really we have as the younger Jacob now going before Esau and saying to the world, and basically saying to Trump, but saying to the world that we are trailblazing in the way of this path of morality, of justice, of peace, of true lasting peace, and through a God consciousness, a true God consciousness, loving consciousness that we want to spread to the world. And so Iran will fall in the hands of Rome, and that is happening over here, but now Rome is falling into the hands of Israel. And it's the struggle of who's going to be before. Do we actually believe in ourselves and saying we are smaller, and we're small on a geographical level and on numbers level in the world, the Jewish people in the world, but we are strong and we are here to lead and we're ready to lead. And this is really heralding the time of the coming of Mashiach that we are all in and witnessing. So witnessing that on the collective level as well as on our personal level of saying we do have that Rome inside of us, that seesaw of good and bad, the ups and downs, etc. But realizing that internally we've got this Yaakov, Yud Akev connected, and Israel and connected to that straightness of God, and that we, although we're small, and that Yetzer Tov is like kind of small, but the Yetzer is really large. We want to have that Yetzer Tov now once again be reignited and be connected to its true source. I mean, we see that on an inner level, Mashiach inside of us, Mashiach outside of us, in a way of chesed urachamim, in a way of goodness, and in a way that the whole world says, Hashem Echad, that God is one. And this is the day that we're waiting for. May it be soon. Wishing you blessings.